Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Okay, so let's look at the next couple of verses, at least the next verse, which is actually summarizing what we saw yesterday. It says, Asya jivatvam aropat sakshini api avabhasate avrittau tu vinashtayam bhede bhate upayati tata. So, the Sakshi, which is awareness, because of the Aropa, seeing it as Jiva, then what the Sakshi is not known to you. Sakshi is what? Awareness. But what seems very apparent to you is what? The form, the body, the mind, the senses. So when you see the body, mind, sense complex, what happens is awareness, which is the truth of that, gets hidden. So this is what I said, that the minute you see the wave, our whole focus is more on forms. When our focus is on forms, the content as though gets hidden. So this is why we say wave is upadhi to the water. Actually it is water, but the form as though give its appearance to the substance. So we begin to see the substance as having an intrinsic nature of the form. When you look at the ocean, your first thing is, this is the ocean. So that ocean becomes upadhi, it as though lends its attribute to water, and water is what? Upahita. It as though takes on the attribute of ocean. So the same water as though takes on the attribute of the wave, and the same water also as though takes on the attribute of the ocean. So wave and ocean, even if they have come from water, they cannot exist without water. In your vision, wave and ocean seem to be reality, and water is forgotten. So this is how awareness is something which is everywhere. But our whole orientation is we give more reality to the form than to the substance. And as long as we give more reality to the form than the substance, what will happen is, if I tell you, this orientation is so strong, that if I tell you awareness is limitless, you want to create another form for awareness which is big. Because our whole orientation is in form. The whole learning has taken place giving reality. The language is like that. The language is also like that. Our teacher used to say, if you say this is wooden box, wood becomes adjective and box becomes the noun. So noun has more reality than adjective, right? So box is taken as bigger reality and wooden is kind of a incidental attribute. So our whole language shows how we see things and how we understand things. So therefore, we need to use the same language but see how that language reflects our confusion of things. Actually, if we understood things right, we would call it what? Boxy wood. Because wood is really the reality and box is only incidental. So this is where you have to give up the orientation of giving form more reality and seeing the substance as enjoying more reality. So wherever there is a form, there is a substance. You don't need to search for substance somewhere else in some other form. You just need to understand that there can be no form without the substance. So wherever there is a form, there is the substance. This is how then you begin to understand Vedanta. So wherever the avarana shakti, which is the covering or the veiling power, is going to make, because you don't see awareness as an object. You will only, the eyes are designed that you will only see forms. Your eyes cannot see, they are programmed to see only forms. So therefore, as long as you use your eyes, and the eyes is a pramana to understand the world. Eyes is a pramana, is what? Pratyaksha is your pramana. Your sense organs are your pramana. They will only report certain characteristics of the form. Then you can say, okay, I will use pratyaksha and then I will infer. This is all, most of the science is what? Inference, right? It's not just what your eyes can meet, you also infer things based on what you see. So for example, if you're driving on a highway, you see car in front of you having this red light during the daytime. What do you infer?
Stopping.
He's slowing down or stopping. So what do? You immediately press the brake. So that means what you see is the red light, what you infer is what the person is stopping or slowing down. So much of our day-to-day activities are actually based on inference. We use inference all the time. The scientists use inference, which is what? A more advanced inference, highly airtight deductions, airtight logic, where you can't, it's not like, yeah, this, it's not dilly-dally, whatever, it is airtight logic. So that means the inference, the capacity to infer that all of us have is more advanced as you become more analytical. But the data for inference comes from where? Observation. So it is always based on perception. And this is the only way to know things in this world, by our own selves. Perception and inference. It can be very advanced inference, but still it is inference based on perception. With this, you are not able to figure out your true nature. It's not possible. And this is why our language, that what we give forms, what more reality. There is one thing which cannot be, your true nature cannot be revealed by your normal means of knowledge, which is pratyaksha pramana and anumana, and the advanced inference is called arthapatti. These are the means that we use to know things in the world. Pratyaksha is perception, anumana is inference, and more than one step inference is called arthapatti. If the content of the form is I, the eyes or the ears or your sense organs are not capable of seeing the I, because it's not an object, it's a subject. Your eyes are programmed to see objects. No matter how much you try, they have no access. This is why it is not subject to experience. Experience is with what? Eyes. No matter how much you try, you will only see a form and an object. How futile is the orientation that I have to experience it. Because you haven't thought about it. You haven't sat and thought about implications of what you are trying to get. This is why this whole knowledge has to really be integrated, and you really need to use your own reasoning to actually see that how uncontradictable what Shastra is saying is, rather than expect your own things out of it. As long as your orientation is, I want this to be like that when that knowledge takes place, you are on a trip. So this is where the pramana does the job of showing what your true nature is. It shows you the content of every form. Not only your form, but of every form. It happens to be one. In the methodology of showing you that the content of every form is one awareness, it also accounts for, it also gives you an answer to how did this form come about in the first place? And why is this form different from every other form? Do you see how the whole methodology is? We use all these Sanskrit words, but that's what we are doing. We are taking one form. We are showing the content of the form. We are showing why this form has come about. How? Through karma or whatever. And then there is one whole arrangement why this, which is Ishvara, because of which not only this form but every other form has come. This is the methodology. Otherwise it's all just words and this and that, and we make Vedanta into some kind of a scholarly pursuit. It's just to do with realities. Here and now. And there is a method to lead you from the form to the content, and also that which accounts for the coming into being of this form. Everything is taken care of.
So it's like you're standing at the shore and somebody is telling you, look at the beautiful waves and look at the ocean, it's all water. And now then you understand.
Exactly. It actually is like the words act like a mirror, which enables you to see yourself as clearly as daylight. There is no confusion anymore. So, this is what he says. When that avarana goes, then what happens is the sakshi, sakshi gets the center stage, the individuality becomes what? An incidental attribute, not the real attribute of sakshi, which is awareness. Before, the form was more real, content was forgotten. Now, the content becomes the reality and form is understood to be incidental. Change in understanding. Keeping the perception the same. Before, box was real, now wood is more real. It's just a shift in your understanding without changing anything. So this is where the jiva, the whole of jiva, the only way, this Anna will explain this samsara tree. Samsara tree is for jiva. The only way to what? Uproot the tree is what?
Wisdom.
Wisdom. Otherwise, if jiva is real, as long as your jivatvam is real, samsara continues. The only way to uproot it is to understand my jivatvam is what? The jiva is an upadhi. And upahita is chaitanya. Now, here what is said is exactly this methodology is explained in the next verse. It says, if you look at anything in this universe, it is asti, bhati, priyam, rupam, nama, cheta amsha, panchakam, aditrayam, brahma rupam, jagat rupam, tatodvayam. It's an interesting methodology which explains how the whole teaching is supposed to work. You don't look for Satchidananda Atma somewhere else. It says, in anything that you see in this universe, you will find that you take one form. You will find Asti, the form is. You will find Bhati, the form what reveals itself to me. Priyam. Here, Priyam, now here this is where I say there is a difference between Swamiji and many other teachers, because every other teacher will translate this Priyam as something which is pleasing. Swamiji will add nuance. For the time being, you can say it is pleasing. Every object is not pleasing. But this is what Swamiji will say. Because it's written Priyam, every other teacher will say it's pleasing, it's pleasing, it's pleasing. This is where our Swamiji is notched above, because he wants to understand the reality. So here Priyam is used in the sense of that limitlessness. It's not used in terms of something which pleases me. Right? So that means there is existence, there is awareness which is limitless. And then there is what? Nama Rupa. Nama Rupa is what? The name and form. What is the content? existence, awareness and limitless. And what is appearing to your eyes? Nama and Rupa. So this is what he says. The first three, Adi Trayam, the first three, Asti, Bhati, Priyam, are Swarupa of Brahma, Brahma Rupam. They are the nature of reality, which is what? You being limitless. Jagat Rupam Tatodvayam. The other two, Nama Rupa, belong to what? Jagat.
Could I also say, is this other words than Sat Chit Ananda?
Yeah,
Yes,
wonderful,
exactly.
perfect. Yes, yes. It is Satchidananda. Wonderful. Here, the word is used, is perfect. This is Sat Chit Ananda, it's perfect. Here, what is used, see, this is why they love to use different language, otherwise it will become boring, right? If I keep using the same language again and again, it's like, oh my God, I've heard it 25 times, then your mind will shut off. And the only message Vedanta has to give you is what? You are Brahman. There is no other. So it has to find some interesting ways, interesting examples to keep you amused, keep you engaged.
I prefer the simple.
Otherwise you can say, yeah, if you are like very Tattan, yeah, why don't they make it simple? Why don't they say it's Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam? Because it will become boring. So this is how. It is Asti Bhati Priyam. That is Sat Chit Ananda. And that figuring out, Gabi, is a great thing. That if you can see the fact that what is being, you don't ask, oh, but there, why is it said like that? And here, if you can on your own figure out that it refers to that, that means your mind is understanding what is being said. That's one of the tests.
Yeah, but the thing is if you do it in the sense of limitlessness, then you have this ananda, no?
Yes. So this is where the Priyam requires a little bit of analysis. Both Priyam and Ananda requires a little bit of analysis.
Yeah.
Because most of the world expects that once you know the nature of Atma, there is going to be a bliss. A kind of a constant bliss which never leaves you. Okay? And the origin of this expectation is because these words are used. Priyam. Priyam means what? Something which is pleasing me.
Something which is
Pleasing.
pleasing.
Ananda. What? Happiness. So these are the words which are used. So, does the attribute of happiness or pleased, being pleased, does it belong to awareness? No. Thank God you know that. It does not belong to awareness, then why, you can ask, then why is Shruti using this word? Is it to confuse us? To trick us? No. There is a purpose. There is a purpose which is a very important purpose. When we are all looking, when it comes to this Purushartha Nishchaya, what am I looking for in life? Freedom. Freedom from what? Suffering. Freedom from suffering, freedom from limitation, freedom from lack, freedom from being wanting. This is really my Purushartha. Whether I am pursuing Artha, I am pursuing Kama, I am pursuing Dharma, or if I am wise, I am pursuing Moksha. I want, my commitment is to my freedom. Anybody who tries to deny that, oh, I am selfless, really doesn't know. Likes to think something which is beautiful, but it actually doesn't exist. So I am searching for my freedom. That is a fact. what is the difference between everybody else and a mumukshu? The only difference is mumukshu is trying to search for it at the right place. When you become a jignasu, then you are searching for it at the right place. Now, when you are searching for it at the right place, what you discover is Atma is limitless. How is it related to your happiness? Your kind of a, because initially you want to be free from suffering, so implied in that is what you want to be happy. Implied. How is it then? Many people are very disappointed. Our teacher in the Anekatti, this time we met, and they said so many people came thinking that they will have some kind of a bliss which will stay with them forever, and when they realized that there is no such bliss, they said, so what, now I know Atma is limitless, I want to go, why should I sit and study Sanskrit, and so therefore you need to understand what is the relationship between limitlessness and your pursuit of happiness. The emotion or feeling, let's say use the word feeling because people love to feel things, right? So feeling of happiness everybody has experienced in life. Even though it's your favorite food, what? There is a feeling of, even the person who's feeling very low, but the minute the person eats ice cream or chocolate or whatever, there is that moment of happiness. This is how people eat. When they are in depression, they'll gobble down potato chips. Because it does give them some happiness. That momentary. Right? So therefore, this happiness, while you're eating potatoes, it comes. You can't deny it. Everybody has experienced it. Or chocolates or whatever you like. Cakes, ice creams, I don't know, whatever. Cheese, blue cheese. Right?
We have a chocolate here, it's called love chocolate.
Love chocolate. Okay. So now, this experience is undeniable of happiness. Now let's look at what is the source of happiness in this experience of happiness.
Senses.
The senses are the source of happiness.
The fulfilling of this.
The means, like through the senses I get.
Okay, so that means if the senses, please understand, if the senses are the source of happiness, you don't need objects because the source of senses are always with you.
Also, you'd never be unhappy.
Through the senses.
You would never be unhappy.
Sorry?
You would never be unhappy if you could just get happiness.
If the source of happiness, look at this is all Vedanta analysis. If the source of happiness are senses, you will not need any object because you have senses with you all the time. The source of happiness is not senses, then what could be? You still have to account for the experience of happiness. So you have to say, where is it coming from? Where is it then coming from?
From the absence of desire.
From absence of desire. Wow. And this is why the whole spiritual world is also what? Trying to eliminate desire. When I'm having potato chips, where is absence of desire?
First I had a desire for potato chips, and when the chips are there, then the desire is over. That's what I mean.
Wonderful. Wonderful. That is
Why
right.
it's only for a moment.
Yes.
It's package.
Anna is smart.
She means fulfillment of desire, not absence.
Yes. So you don't mean absence of desire, you mean fulfillment.
But first there was the
There
desire,
was-
and then it's not there.
Okay. So there was this desire. Now imagine our teacher used to challenge a little bit more. And it says, when you look at the sun and you feel happy, which desire did you fulfill? Or when you see a child, it's not like you had this whole big desire, I want to see the child.
The feeling of completeness,
Wonderful.
wholeness.
Wonderful. Wonderful. The feeling of completeness. What has happened is, in this case, potato chips, when I have, there is the seeker in me, which is wanting potato chips. Then, and what is sought by me? Potato chips. Now, when I have this potato chips with me, for the time being, what has happened is, as Anna says, there is a resolution of the seeker and the sought. The seeker me is in connection with what is sought by me. When there is a seeker-sought resolution, there is what we call experience of happiness. But what is the problem is, and even in that case, right, the seeker, the wanting me, the complaining me, if I see a child, that complaining me disappears. And I'm just one. That seeker, that entity just resolves. Even though the child was not actively sought by me. The sunrise was not actively, I just happened to see it. Okay? Every time there is an experience of happiness, there is a resolution of seeker and sought. But it is temporary, because by the time potato chips are already eaten, then I want to eat ice cream that somebody else is eating. So again I become the seeker.
Would you repeat that sentence you said before? About
Yeah.
happiness?
So by the time I finish one desire and I do get some happiness, then the second desire begins to emerge.
I meant the other one about.
Sorry?
Every time there is happiness.
There's an illusion of wholeness that I get there. The ice cream.
Excellent. There is an illusion. There is an experiential wholeness, because there is a experiential resolution of seeker and sought for that time being. And that gives me an insight into wholeness. Wonderful. When there is no seeker sought, there is wholeness.
And that's why we continue to seek, because it's only
Yes.
experiential, and then I'll seek again and again.
Excellent, excellent. That's why you continue to seek all your life, because that experience where the seeker sought is resolved and there is wholeness, that is so pleasing for us that our whole life goes in actually searching for that wholeness through the experience of happiness. But we create little wholeness. That what she's saying, which is a kind of an illusion of wholeness, a temporary wholeness. Yes.
So there's this seeker in me, in us, even though I don't perceive the seeker consciously.
Yes, exactly. I mean, the seeker is constantly there, even though you don't tell, oh, I'm a seeker of this now and I'm a seeker of, it's not, but you are seeking constantly. So, therefore, so that means any time you resolve through your experience the seeker sought, it results in what? The experience of happiness. How is that connected to Vedanta?
Should we answer?
Huh?
Should we answer?
Yeah.
Because Vedanta has the solution that the seeking resolves infinitely.
Exactly. The Vedanta makes you see that there is only one. Where is the question of seeking and sought? It permanently resolves the division between seeker and sought. Permanently. Through experience, what you are doing is doing it what at that given point in time. Then you are again a seeker. It resolves the seeker and sought relationship permanently by making you see, as Yuta says, that you are the whole. The wholeness that I experientially experience for a given point of time, Vedanta solves that problem most fundamentally. Why? Because the seeker is limitless. Limitless means what? The nature of seeker is limitless. Limitless means what? There is no second. If there is no second, where is the real sought? The whole Jagat is mithya. I am limitless. Who is the seeker and what is the sought? This is why it is related to your the experience of happiness. Ananda. In Ananda, you are searching for wholeness. And through Vedanta, you discover that wholeness is my nature. In the experience of Ananda, you are searching for wholeness through coming in contact with something that you seek. Vedanta shows you that you are the wholeness. Now, this awareness, you please understand, because you need to get it right. Otherwise people are again, I will never have any desire anymore. People, everything that Vedanta says, you add your own lovely story to it. Awareness does not have it is limitless. The entire Jagat is what? Dependent upon every body, every mind, every element, elementals, everything is dependent upon this awareness. The wise person who has understood that I am this awareness, will that person have mind or not?
Hopefully.
Exactly. Will still have the mind, and will the desire of the mind will go away? No. If you understand this, you will begin to understand Vedanta. Most of the time, people continue to have their association with the mind. So when it is said, Atma is free from desire, awareness is free from desire, they think that the mind has to be free from desire.
The fulfillment of the happiness does not depend on the resolving of the desire.
Exactly. The desires at the level of the mind will remain. That's why the Gnani what desires to share the knowledge. It's not like the Gnani is like some robot, just moves. Yeah, but it's not like that. And if the kind of happiness that you have, when somebody says, I get what you are saying, you feel happy. There is a vritti of happiness. And when people who are sitting in front are like clueless, you feel disturbed. That is how it is. It's not like the person becomes insensitive and totally unconnected, right? The mind continues to do the job that it was doing. Just as before.
Although the mind gets influenced by
the mind will get influenced. That's what I'm saying. The mind is not going to not get influenced. Wonderful. Most of the people think that the mind will never get influenced. That is not possible. Mind will get influenced. This is part of rationality of the mind. You don't want to make wise person irrational. You want to make wise person understanding rationality but having another paradigm shift. Putting the whole mental activity in its own place.
But your desire isn't out of a sense of lack.
Exactly. The desiring is not out of sense of lack, because the lack is removed by knowing the nature of I. So if my desire is not from sense of lack, I want to share this knowledge, what will I get? It's not like, I will be miserable if you don't. I would love it if you understand. But at the same time, there is nothing that really I have to lose if you don't understand. But I would want you to understand.
Like Krishna says in the Gita that I'm the desire that's not opposed to dharma.
Excellent.
So hopefully your desire becomes aligned.
Absolutely. Because the whole Yoga Shastra is aligning with dharma. So that means if you become that person who knows, obviously following dharma will become a very spontaneous thing. Absolutely. It is not out of, it cannot be against dharma. It is not out of lack. It is an expression of your fullness. If it is an expression of your fullness, then whether it happens or not, it also means it's not totally indifferent. You can't be totally indifferent. You will have different responses. But at the same time, this whole thing is seen as what happening. It's like a show. Atma is free from the whole show. The best way to understand it is, our teacher used to use this analogy, which is a very nice analogy. The analogy is that of an actor and a role. Imagine you're a very famous actor and you're playing a role of a beggar. What happens is, imagine what gives you the freedom while playing the role. Exactly. The knowledge that I'm not the beggar is very much there with the actor. Imagine if the actor forgot and really starts thinking I'm a beggar. What will happen? That minute all the suffering will start. The beggar cannot exist without actor, mithya. Actor is independent of being a beggar, satya. If I know this reality, it will give me freedom while I play the role of a beggar. When it gives me the freedom by knowing that I am not the beggar, will it mean that I will not play the role of a beggar seriously? If I don't play it seriously, nobody will watch my movie. I have to act it out. I have to show that I am miserable. I have to show that and then you evoke what? Response from the audience. Oh wow, what an acting. While doing what you have to do and not just indifferent to that role, there is still a freedom, and that comes from knowledge. That I am not this. This is how the whole world, it is for a wise person. Anu said one day, that when you are sad, you still understand, while experiencing sadness, you understand I am free from sadness. If you try to eliminate the experience of sadness, which is happening at the mind, then your I is still connected to the mind. You are saying Atma, but you are actually wanting its effect in the mind. That means the association still continues.
And this is a distortion.
This is a distortion. The distortion is just like everybody else's ahankara.
Yes.
Yeah. So therefore, the freedom comes because I is limitless. And that knowledge is so clear, there is no mix-up by the person. There are not wrong expectations anywhere. The whole thing is seen totally clearly, totally lucid. And what you see, obviously the quality of your mind changes, because the whole Yoga Shastra is preparing the mind. So the quality of that person's mind is not going to be like any other mind, because the person has learned to deal with emotions, do the cognitive restructuring. All that job is already done. So the person will behave a lot more maturely, but there is no such thing called mind never having sadness, the mind never having fear. That's my first day presentation. Mind is programmed, it's an instrument. It will have, the amygdala does report and it does have responses. But what we have done is worked on prefrontal cortex to bring sanity to what is going on, in light of which the intensity of the emotions obviously has come down. So a jnani does enjoy an evolved mind, but evolved mind, what is the definition of evolved mind?
Even though experiencing it, knowing it, I'm not this.
Evolved mind is, at first step, you need to manage your emotions, manage your dharma, manage your dealing with situations. All that jnani has done. And as a result of that, jnani has prepared the mind enough to understand one's own limitlessness. Once the limitlessness is understood, jnani understands very clearly the relationship between awareness and the mind. While the mind is independent, is not independent of awareness. Awareness is totally free from whatever is going on in the mind. The ultimate freedom is not centered on a given type of mind, but it is centered on nature of I. ultimate freedom. Relative freedom is centered on the type of mind that you have cultivated. Yoga Shastra. Is that distinction clear? So that is how that in everything there is this priyam, the ananda is that limitlessness. When you solve the problem, that you are the whole, regardless of whatever goes on anywhere, that is, this is what they call Ananda Swarupa. Swarupa of Ananda. Wholeness. So, that limitlessness is everywhere, and Nama Rupa are what? The incidental, the awareness is everywhere. So now, the next verse shows where exactly, Sorry?
No, it's just saying what we discussed.
Sorry? Okay. So Asti Bhati Priyam is the Brahma Rupam and Nama Rupam is Jagat. Now, this is something which applies to everything. So, the next verse shows that Jagat includes what? Kha, Vayu, Agni, Jalaha, Urvishu, Deva, Tiryaka, Adishu, Abhinna, Sachidanandaha, Vidyate, Rupanamani. So, this particular thing that there is Sat, Asti, Bhati, Priyam and Nama, Rupa. Asti is existence, Bhati is that which is revealing, the other thing, Priyam is that limitlessness, and then Nama and Rupa. So the first three belong to what? Brahman, which is your nature, awareness. The other two belong to the form. So wherever there is form, there is Asti, Bhati, Priyam. Okay. Now, which form, if you ask, it is every form. So here it says Kha. Kha is what? Space. In space, there is what? Without existence, awareness, which is limitless, there is no form. So that means wherever there is this form, space, there is awareness. What is space is that given form. Here space is actually formless. But it has a name because it is that which accommodates everything else. It has a name. So when you see the space, there is already Satchidananda Atma there. Don't look for it somewhere else. When you see Vayu, again the form Vayu, and without Satchidananda Atma, there is no Vayu, no air. Agni, fire. As we saw, what fire is atoms, particles, then there is existence, which is, it's a concept, it's awareness. We did this. So wherever you see the form, there is awareness there. Jala, again water. Urvi, Urvi is the earth. In each of these elements, the forms are different. The content of the form is the same. Okay. Now from these 5 elements, the entire universe is made. So every form in this universe is made up of, according to the Vedic model, the different permutation and combination of these 5 elements. So whether it is a human body, or if it is a fish body, or if it is a crocodile body, they are all made up of 5 elements. So then it says, not only you see the Atma in the five elements, you also see Atma in what? Celestial beings, in animals, in man. Deva. Deva is, you have a very celestial body, very beautiful body, which is differently programmed than this human body, with subtle senses. Still, it is what? Made up of these five elements. And in that, there is Satchidananda Atma. In that means there is no inside. Without its mithya, that body is mithya, it cannot exist. The content of that body ultimately is Satchidananda. And the form is that body, Deva body. Deva body means celestial body. Then Tiryak. Tiryak is what? The animal. Animal body you can have, and this is same five elements. Deva body is the same five elements and the animal body is same five elements.
One subtle and one gross?
Yeah, both subtle and gross, they are both different. But both are from five elements. So wherever there are five elements, there are forms which are different, that one content remains the same. So Satchidananda Atma is there, and Naradishu. Nara is human body. So Abhinnaha Satchidanandaha. So the Vidyate Rupa Namani. Nama and Rupa are very different. Celestial body is very different from an animal body. An animal body is very different from a human body. One element is different from the second element. So the elements are different. The elementals, the forms which are made up of those five elements are different. What is abhinna, what is not different is what? Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, Brahma. So this is where, this is why for this vision of non-duality, do you need to remove the differences in forms? No. Because Nama and Rupa are going to be different. The non-duality does not depend upon your seeing everything as just one uniform thing. In spite of seeing many different forms, in spite of seeing what? The difference in characteristics between those forms, as Sahajo said, even Sukshma bodies are different. And you have to be able to see that. Otherwise, this kind of a dilly-dally spirituality is everything is one, so love everyone. These are all ideas which sound wonderful, but they don't exist. The whole thing is, in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna is teaching Arjuna, all that is here is one. Atma is avinashi. Yena sarvam idam tatam. Which pervades everything. Na jayate mriyate va kadachit. It is never born, it is never dying. This is the vision of Atma. Then he says, Tasmat yuddhaya yujyasva. But you still have to engage in the war. Because everything is one, doesn't mean that you just go and embrace everyone. There are differences in forms. And there are also differences in characteristics. I am very happy Sahajo said, Sukshma is different. So there are people who are, in this case, Duryodhana, he he had no understanding of dharma. His whole life was, how can I use power? How can I gain more and more power and more wealth by whatever means? And if that is the orientation of the person, and if you put that person in the position of absolute power, what will happen? It will be a disaster. Many people may not have the capability to fight this person because the person is mighty. Mighty means?
Powerful.
Powerful. But suppose in the large scheme of things, you are placed in a position that you are capable of fighting this person. And if you don't do that job, is it dharma or it is adharma? Adharma. Everything is one does not mean that you lose this perspective, that the forms are different, these subtle bodies are different. And you have to do what you have to do according to your dharma. You can't bypass, you can't ignore dharma. This is why in the pursuit of Vedanta, Ishvara is a very integral part. Because Ishvara brings laws, the rules of the game. Otherwise, anything goes. There is no Vedanta without the presence of Ishvara. So this is where the choices that you have to make, even though everything is one, it has to be within dharma. You can't have an alignment to the ultimate truth without aligning at this level. Imagine you want at a top level and here it's all wobbly. Will it stay? Alignment with the truth means there is an alignment from the very foundation till the top. Until you build a strong foundation, there is no hope of building a stable top. Anybody who builds a building knows that. What is the first thing that you have to do? Build a strong foundation. Then only your 23rd floor will survive. Otherwise, your 23rd floor is in danger. So this is where this is what intricacies. Everything is one doesn't mean that you just start losing the discretion between differences in forms and differences in attributes of those forms and your duties and your responsibilities, which are very tricky at times. That is wisdom. How to navigate. So, the collapsing of the form is not necessary. This is what I will just end by saying, that retaining the visual of all the 5 elements, retaining the visual of all the different forms and their characteristics, you still can understand that there is one invariable reality, which is Satchidananda. What I wanted to show is that there are 2 types of adhyasa. One is called, adhyasa is superimposition. One is what we call nirupadika adhyasa, and the other one is sopadika adhyasa. What is nirupadika adhyasa? Nirupadika Adhyasa is that imagine you have a superimposition. You superimpose something on something. When you remove that superimposition, what will happen is your perception will change. That is called Nirupadika Adhyasa. What does it mean? Simple. Sounds very fancy. Simple. Imagine that you are, when we had gone to the castle, Anna saw some object and she said, "Ah!" She got it. She so much wanted to find my bag. Anything. There was this little doll and she thought it was my purse. So, that is what we call adhyasa, right? Where there is something, then she saw something else. Now the minute she brought the torch, the adhyasa, what we saw the doll, and what happened? Her perception of the purse disappeared. So this is what we call Nirupadika Adhyasa. First she saw something, then when she had the light, she saw the real object, then the perception of the purse disappeared. As a result of correcting the error, the perception also changed. This is called Nirupadika Adhyasa. There is another type of Adhyasa which is what we call Sopadika Adhyasa. Sopadika Adhyasa. What is Sopadika Adhyasa? We all know that the earth is not flat but it is a globe. So we've all, for a long time, human beings believed that the earth is flat because the visual thing was what? The earth is flat. When we corrected this error, and we now all know that earth is a globe, what is our perception? Our perception is still that it is flat. Sopadika Adhyasa. In one case, after correction, the perception changes. In the other case, after correcting the error, the perception does not change.
And that's what people often think, that when you are enlightened, everything...
Excellent. Wonderful, Sanju. So, which of the two adhyasa is this? Excellent.
So the rope and the snake is the Nirupadika.
Exactly. This is Sopadika Adhyasa. So that means that, wonderful. Everybody expects something else, the perception to be something else when the error is removed. Because there are some cases where when you remove the error, the perception changes. But in this case, it is Sopadika Adhyasa. Sopadika Adhyasa means that the perception will not change, but the error will be removed. Like in the case of flat earth. Now, you need to figure out what rules, when will the perception change and when the perception will not change upon removing the error. There is some method to that. So what is that? We will see in the next class.
Don't switch off.
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.